Have you ever pondered over the surge of far-right ideologies in the 21st century? These ideologies, including fascism, challenge the core principles of modern democracies, that is, freedom and equality. While quite separate, ideologies share an intriguing yet alarming relationship, sculpting the political panorama of nations today. This relationship becomes more intriguing as we delve into the timeline's 21st century. As we investigate this paradox, we'll examine the rise and influence of far-right ideologies on modern democracies, tracing their evolution and possible future. So, join us as we traverse the emergence of far-right ideologies and inspect their repercussions on modern democracies. To comprehend the resurgence, we first need to understand the rebirth of authoritarian ideologies. What we are witnessing, rising from the ashes, the tumultuous landscape of the early 21st century, bears striking resemblances to old, authoritarian ideologies, ones that we thought had been left in the past. These ideologies, akin to the tenets of fascism, appear to be making an unexpected and unsettling comeback. In the midst of social instability and economic insecurity, politically influential figures around the globe have begun to echo similar doctrines, borrowing from the rhetoric of autocrats past, but tweaking it to fit a more modern digital age. This resurgence isn't happening in isolation, rather it is spreading across the world, crossing the boundaries of race, culture, religion, and politics. The reappearance of this ideology is characterized by an alarming predilection for strong central power. It is an ideology that thrives on the suppression of opposition, the silencing of dissidents, and the enforcement of societal regimentation. It's an ideology that values uniformity over diversity, strength over empathy, and control over freedom. We see this ideology finding footholds in various nations, slowly creeping into the political landscapes, and altering the fabric of societies. In Russia, for instance, President Putin's regime exemplifies many facets of this ideology. He has managed to maintain a stranglehold on power, stifling opposition and promoting a narrative of Russian supremacy, much like the authoritarian leaders of the past. Similarly, in China, under the rule of the Communist Party and its leader Xi Jinping, we see another instance of has tightened its already firm grip on power, further limiting freedoms and cracking down on dissent. Its focus on maintaining party control and promoting nationalistic sentiment echoes the authoritarian ideologies we are discussing. Then there's Brazil, a nation that has seen a surge in far-right politics, most notably represented by its current president Jair Bolsonaro. His leadership has been marked by divisive rhetoric, attempts to suppress opposition, and a clear lean towards authoritarianism. The rise of such figures in different corners of the world underscores the increasing influence of these ideologies. But these authoritarian ideologies are not mere replicas, they adapt to each country's unique historical and cultural context. Just like in the past, they are chameleonic in nature, blending into the existing socio-political landscape. In the 20th century, these ideologies surged in response to the political and economic challenges of the time, leading to the rise of dictators and the onset of world wars. Today, they are tapping into the fears and insecurities of the people, exploiting economic disparities, social unrest, and political divisions. It's a narrative of resurgent authoritarian regimes, rampant nationalism, and renewed divisiveness that is unfolding before us. Yet at the same time, it provides us with a stark reminder of the value of democracy and human rights. Such ideologies may in strength, but at the cost of individual freedom and societal diversity. They may offer a sense of belonging, but it is a belonging that is built on exclusion and discrimination. It is this understanding of authoritarian ideologies, a deep look into their nature, their impact, and their implications, that will allow us to comprehend the resurgence we are currently observing. Only through understanding can we begin to address and challenge these ideologies. Only through acknowledgement can we begin to construct a counter-narrative, one that values diversity and human rights. With this understanding of what modern authoritarian ideologies are, we can now delve into the proliferation of far-right ideologies in the 21st century wasn't a sudden occurrence. Instead, it was a sequential process, momentum like a snowball rolling down the slope of modern history. This progression ignited by economic instability in the aftermath of major global crises. Countries plunged into financial turmoil, their economic structures, currencies spiraled down, and citizens found themselves in dire straits. This chaos laid the perfect for the birth and growth of far-right ideologies. Hard-pressed times often push people towards radical beliefs that promise some semblance of hope. Here, social upheaval also plays a significant role. The modern era is characterized by widespread with people clamoring for change, and far-right ideologies present themselves as an attractive alternative. But economic destabilization and social turmoil alone are not adequate to elucidate the rise of far-right ideologies. Nationalist sentiments also manipulated. These ideologies thrive on the concept of national supremacy. In the chaos of the modern world, people's yearning for their country to regain its lost grandeur was exploited by far-right leaders, who styled themselves as national redeemers. Hence, the rise of far-right ideologies was a multifaceted process, propelled by economic instability, social upheaval, and the perversion of nationalism, stirring up a tempest that brought ideologies to prominence in several regions. Comprehending the rise of far-right ideologies paves the way for analyzing its effect on modern democracy. We'll delve into this in the ensuing scene. The rise of far-right ideologies presents a significant challenge to modern democracies. This issue compels us to investigate the intricate dynamics between modern democracies and the rising far-right ideologies. Modern democracies essentially hinge on the principles of freedom of speech, assembly, and dissent. But when far-right ideologies gain momentum, they tend to erode these democratic values. Far-right ideologies thrive on autocracy, forcible suppression of opposition, and societal regimentation, which are stark contrasts to the ethos of democracy. An escalation in such ideologies invariably leads to a deterioration of democratic values. Proponents of far-right ideologies employ tactics such as intimidation, censorship, and sometimes violence to stifle dissent, thereby undermining the democratic value of freedom of speech. Concurrently, power in regime is often centralized, undermining the democratic practices of distributed power and collective decision-making. Far-right movements are known to exploit democratic processes using propaganda and misinformation in order to sway public sentiment and seize power. Upon acquiring control, they can further manipulate democratic processes to perpetuate their rule, sometimes altering laws and regulations to propagate their agenda. Far-right ideologies also thrive on societal division, applying divide-and-conquer strategies, frequently triggering unrest and instability. Yet, in the face of these challenges, modern democracies have demonstrated their resilience against the rise of far-right ideologies. Numerous democracies have resisted and triumphed over such threats via collective action, robust democratic institutions, and the unwavering determination of their citizens. The rise of far-right ideologies poses a significant challenge to modern democracies. It's a reminder of the relentless endeavor to uphold the principles of freedom, equality, and justice against ideologies that attempt to destabilize them, but also a testament to the resilience of democracy and the tenacious spirit of those who strive to safeguard. The paradoxical interplay between far-right ideologies and democracy in the contemporary world is far from straightforward. Rooted in the early 20th century, far-right ideologies have been growing, flourishing on the back of nationalistic fervor and disillusionment, and potentially undermining the democratic tenets of equality and justice. The democratic system, with its principles of free speech and political pluralism, permits the coexistence of all ideological currents, including the far right. However, if the growth of far-right ideologies is not regulated, it can corrode the very foundation of democracy. Historical evidence demonstrates the downfall of nations under oppressive regimes. It's a paradox that can be managed with informed vigilance and active civic engagement. Recognizing the signs of escalating far-right ideologies and ensuring the democratic process is not manipulated is imperative. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires us to vote, voice our views, and hold our elected representatives accountable. Underscores the importance of diversity and the value of diverse viewpoints. Embracing this responsibility for the preservation of our democratic societies. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and most importantly, be an active participant. Another significant factor that often fuels the rise of fascism is the fear of immigrants, driven by the controversial white replacement theory. This theory, rooted in unfounded fears and prejudice, propagates the notion that white populations are being systematically replaced by non-white immigrants, leading to a perceived threat to white culture and identity. This theory, despite being widely debunked, has been used as a tool to stoke fear and resentment towards immigrants. It paints a picture of an impending threat to the dominant culture, creating a hostile environment that is ripe for the growth of far-right ideologies like fascism. The fear and hostility generated by this theory often play a significant role in the rise of far-right ideologies. It gives these ideologies a platform, a cause to rally around, and a common enemy to unite against. The result is a political environment that is increasingly polarized and fraught with tension, providing fertile ground for the growth of extremist ideologies. Understanding these factors, the origins of such theories, and the fear they generate is crucial in our ongoing struggle against the rise of fascist ideologies. It is essential to challenge these unfounded narratives and foster a society that celebrates diversity rather than fears it. In the next scene, we will explore how we can actively fight against the rise of such ideologies and protect our democratic societies.